Hi, Dan Morris here, sound check.
Hey, Dan.
Hi.
Hey, Dan, I can hear you.
Good, thank you.
Mike, do we expect everybody to make it today?
Everybody except Anella. At the last minute, she had to. She couldn't make it at the last minute. Yeah, she was. We were planning to have full all the commissioners on. I think she told us like last week. She had last minute. She had to do some. She had some projects she had to work on. Work.
Probably out there hunting.
Hi guys. So the laptop I'm using to stream the meeting, the speakers are a little bust. So we're going to see if, just for clarity in this room for hearing you guys, we're just gonna go see if we can find a external speaker. So that way everyone in here clearly. I'm gonna go double check that the streaming is sounding good. That's in my office. So give me a sec and then do some talking.
Carmela is.
Yeah, actually it was what was it? It was a work thing and someone talking at a meeting and that day their voice was so loud it went crack my speaker. I was like, ah! Yeah, it's Why didn't Mike? Okay, it's working. Terry informed me that the commissioner's got to be on the screen at all times. So I think that means for my side, I have to do gallery view. I don't know how that changes if you share your screen. If you're intending on doing that today, Mike, just FYI.
Okay. I only have one agenda item that I have a share screen.
Okay, I'm just saying we gotta I don't know how that plays out in terms of like the rules because Terry just said.
Oh no, but they have to have their cameras on, but you can do when I do a share screen, I take over their main screens, and then they have a little sidebar that has all the pictures in it. So they don't have to see everybody.
I'm thinking more of like but just for maybe the voting, the public facing, we got to make sure we're not sharing screen and people can see everybody's faces.
Yeah, as long as everybody has their camera on. You want to make sure you give me share screen rights?
I set that up before, so try.
Okay.
I set it up before I did that to make sure it was already on. So can you share? Try share.
I don't want to do it before we start the meeting, but I can share and unshare. Let's see.
Yeah, that's all. Just share and unshare something. Like your desktop.
Is that it? You guys got it?
Yep.
Okay, I'll stop share. Okay, there we go.
That
Okay.
means you're good. You can. So.
Okay.
I think we have everybody. Commissioners, any questions before we get started? I'm gonna do Na'amakua for us before we call to order, so we can get set up with our work right. Na'amakua mai kalahiki a kalakau, mai ka uku I a kahalapai. Na'amakua ya kahina kua ya kahina alo, ya ka akau I kalani, o ki hai kalani, o wei kalani, nuli kalani, ka holo kalani. Eia ka pula a oko kulu ka ea a kanaloa. E malama oko ia mako. E ulu I kalani, e ulu I ka honua, e ulu I ka pai aino Hawaii. E ho mai ka ike, e ho mai ka ikaika, e ho mai ki aka mai, e ho mai ka mau popopono, e ho mai ki ke papa lua, e ho mai ka ma. Okay, welcome everybody. We're going to call to order our February 24th meeting for the Kaho'olawe Island Reserve Commission.
Chair, can I ask our commission coordinator to do a roll call attendance of all commissioners present, and this reminder for the commissioners, they need to have their cameras on during the meeting.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Chair Kaho'olawe,
Present.
Vice Chair Lindsay,
Present.
Commissioner Case,
Here.
Commissioner Evans, absent. Commissioner Mataafa,
Here.
Commissioner Pang,
Here.
Commissioner Paskaya.
Aloha here.
Mahalo.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions or comments or edits for our minutes of December 13, 2021?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the minutes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, Pang.
Thank you, Commissioner Pang.
Miss-
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chair, I need to abstain because I was not present at the December meeting.
All right. Terry, for all of our items, we're going to just vote by roll call.
Correct. Okay.
Approval of the minutes.
Commissioner, are you ready for the vote,
Yes.
Chair?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Mataafa,
Aye.
Commissioner Pang,
Aye.
Commissioner Paskaya,
Aye.
Vice Chair Lindsay,
Aye.
and Chair Kaho'olawe.
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries. We're going to handle community and public comments. If our staff can just kind of monitor the chat as we go through the items. If there are points of public comment, maybe if KIRC staff could bring that to the commission's attention.
Will do.
Okay, we're going to move to section 4, section 4A, review and approve amendment for fiscal year 2022 KIRC operating budget.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I'm going to share screen, short PowerPoint presentation. Let me get into that. That's not quite the one I wanted. Okay, wait, stop that one. Make sure I get the right screen. This one. Okay. That doesn't come up right. Let me try again. I have way too many screens open. It's not picking the right screen. Okay, I'll just do it without the without the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, so the recommended motion is to approve the KIRC FY22 budget increase of $61,266. So the previous budget was approved in the previous amendment was approved on December 13th for a total of $1,817,772.98. This current amendment that we're requesting increases the FY22 budget by $61,266 in order to for a couple items. One is to execute a new grant that we were awarded by the National Coastal Wetland Conservation Grant funded by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. This 3-year CWC project includes funding for equipment, supplies, and funding for an ocean resource specialist for 2 years. Staff is planning to start the new staffing in FY23. Additionally, this grant includes funds to cover other current operating expenses, including vessel operation, access fees, meals, and communication. This FY22 budget increase, the portion that we are presenting is only the FY22 portion of this new grant. So as we break down the different parts of this request, we're going to be adding a new project to the Ocean Resource Management Program, and the new project will be the CWC grant, Coastal Wetland Conservation Grant. We're going to be adding reimbursable funds, $42,341 to the line item for this grant for the Ocean program to start executing this grant. That's their estimation of how much money they will spend that is reimbursable to us from the grant for the grant. We're also shifting money from the non-reimbursable trust fund portion of our budget, $2,200 to reimbursable trust funds in the line item for Reserve Operation Base Camp to reflect the grant funding for on-island communications. So we currently have another grant funding our internet communications on island. We are going to use this new grant to fund $2,200 of it, and then take that savings and apply it to the base camp contract in the non-reimbursable section. So that's going to reduce our depletion of the trust fund by $2,200. We'll also move another $7,500 from the non-reimbursable trust fund to the reimbursable trust fund to cover also reflects on-island meals that this new grant will be covering. And that will be another $7,500 that will be reducing our trust fund depletion numbers. And lastly, we found the error in the spreadsheet from the last amendment. The line item was there in the budget. It was in the additional different program areas. It just didn't sum all the way up. So we're going to be adding another $18,925 in reimbursable trust funds to cover that error. So in the net of all those numbers, the total that we'll be asking is to increase our budget by $61,000, $61,266. The net impact of all that to our trust fund is that we'll be increasing a trust fund grant income by about $64,000. And the net of all that is that we are projecting a end of year balance in the trust fund, $20,400 higher than we projected 2 months ago because of this new grant. So we're going in the right direction. So, and that's my presentation. If there's any questions and want to ask about this, there's a lot of back and forths, but basically the idea is always to try to cut down the non-reimbursable trust fund amounts that we're using for our budget.
I'd like to move that we approve this action item review and approve amendment to the fiscal year 2022 KIRC operating budget. I believe that I think you put it on virtual earlier. That was the action item, the 61,000. Right?
Yes.
Thank you for the motion.
Yes.
Samalu, question?
I'll wait till after the motion. Or after we approve the motion. I'll second the motion. Clarifying question after.
Paskaya second the motion.
Samalu did second it.
Oh, sorry.
Take the vote.
Yeah. By roll call. Terry, please.
Sorry, before we take the vote, I just had a clarifying question. So the error in the spreadsheet, everything that was on the budget itself was correct. It was just that total that was added wrong on the previous.
So in the spreadsheet we provided last time, the individual numbers, the totals for G fund carryover, reimbursable and non-reimbursable, those totals were correct, but there was a formulation error that it didn't roll up to the total. So the total that we approved was short by 18,000, but the actual numbers in the different funding sources were correct. So the only correction is we have to make a correction to the total. So that's why we're adding in 18, even though this grant addition is only about 42, it impacts is only about 42,000. We got to add in about 18,000 to cover the error from the last spreadsheet. And I think we have that all fixed in the future spreadsheets. And it's reimbursable trust fund. So it doesn't diminish anything impact on our trust fund on its own.
Are there clarifying questions?
Chair, just FYI, I'm going to abstain on the vote just because I'm employed by Fish and Wildlife Service.
Thank you. Okay, vote by roll call.
With him, it's abstaining. Will we have a quorum?
Yes, we have 5 still.
Yes. Vice Chair Lindsay,
Yes.
Commissioner Case, Commissioner Case,
You're muted.
Aye. Yeah.
Commissioner Mataafa,
Aye.
Commissioner Pang abstains, Commissioner Paskaya,
Aye.
and Chair Ka'akua.
Aye. Motion carries. We'll go to action item 4B, extending base camp contract with Dawson for fiscal year 23.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Last year, we awarded the base camp contract to Dawson Inc. In that contract, we also include 3 additional extensions, annual extensions. This is the first of their extensions. We are requesting the motion to authorize Executive Director to extend the base camp contract with Dawson for the period from May 15th, 2022 through May 14th, 2023 in the amount of $497,297,297.67. The base camp contract awarded last year was for $453,695. In the memo that I attached, we have the comparison between last year and this year. There is one correction under FY23, under total services wet get, which is the 4th line down in your table. that's the number without excise tax. So it's actually $407,996.16. So that's 407,996.16 is the correct total with the get. And that brings the delta, the correct delta, instead of $10,034, it's $26,352. The total contract differences are all correct down below. Some of the notes, the part of the increase is the increase up above in the services, those are our monthly recurring services. It's there's a pay escalation that Dawson had incorporated that was already planned. And also we did get a pay correction, so that reduced our food service workforce by 2,000, but there was an escalation in the other workforces and an increase in admin hours as we start coordinating the new purchasing ways of Dawson doing purchasing of food, and we're purchasing other items. So there's more administration in that process. Portion in the bottom part of the table, those are all contingency items. If we need it, we have it available. If we don't use it, then whatever money we don't use reverts back to the trust fund. We did make a decision to increase their contingency transportation to allow for a helicopter extraction on the very last day, so that we don't have to do an additional boat run to the island just to pick up 2 people. If we start getting a hardship later, we may reintroduce boat runs on the last day to go pick up the last 2 guys on the island. But right now we have those fundings available to do a helicopter extraction for them. That's it.
Any questions, directors, commissioners? Yes.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the changes in deltas, and like the bigger ones I see is the contingency transport and then the facilities support workforce.
Yes.
You know, so what is the basis for the increased admin hours? Why are they requesting more admin hours this time around?
The biggest part of the admin, I have Eric Brundage is on, who is the manager for the contract. Eric, can you address that?
Yeah, sure. The biggest changes for the camp workforce is, like Mike said, an increase in admin hours, and that's based upon what we've learned over the first year of managing this contract under Dawson. So it's more closely reflecting what our actual expenditures are versus what we had put in for the base year. It also increases slightly my hours, because again, I'm finding myself spending more time when not on island managing the contract. And there's also a pay boost for one of the general maintenance technicians who's been with us, for several years and has not gotten an increase since he started working. So that's why you're seeing the increase in that area. One note about the increase for the contingency transportation is that's based upon $1,200 a month. That was the quote given by Windward. We've used them off and on so far in the contract, and they're more for a single run to and from island. It's actually coming in below 1,000, sometimes as low as $720 if they book it on actual rate, but the 1,200 would be a cap. So I can see that not expending all of that in the contingency helicopter area.
So I know we're dealing with FY22 and FY23, and it's hard to predict out, but if you are to stay on FY24, do you foresee any other potential increases? I know you have to account for inflation, but based off of the first year, do you see anything that, besides what's mentioned in today's briefing, that you think would be an extra cost in the future?
I don't think so. We've had under Zapata, which was that division was bought out by Dawson a couple of years ago, and I've been managing this contract since 2008. A lot of years we actually go down once we refine costs and things like that, and adjust workforce based upon the KIRC's demands, potentially even go lower. But right now, I don't anticipate any significant increases in the out years unless our overhead and G&A goes up. And so far, it's been staying pretty steady the last couple of years.
Yeah, we've also, Eric and I have discussed that if the costs increase significantly, one of the other items that we're looking at is cutting back time. As we cut back time, we will also cut back total cost. So, we have that as a contingency that we may cancel some of the summer months just because that is not our main planting season, and it's kind of very hot and the high surf season. So traditionally, those are sort of the months we almost end up canceling anyway. So we may just put it in the contract earlier, and as a method to reduce total contract price is make a decision in the future to cancel some of the 1 or 2 summer months just because high surf conditions, and just send our guys out there just to maybe go water plants and not open the camp up at all.
I have a question for Mike. Mike, do you conduct a performance review at all of the contractors, especially like this one, maybe after 1 year, to make sure that they're meeting, or exceeding, obligations of the contract? Do you do that? Is that common with your contracts or with this one?
I do it. We do a formal one at the end of the total performance periods because that's usually part of the contract term. So the last one we did a performance review, but I'm also going out there at least a couple times, 2 or 3 times a year, just to work with the contractor to see, to do my own site inspection and contract review. And then I used to run the base camp in the military, so we have a lot of talk between me and myself and the base camp manager. We both understand how to manage that camp and look at the way the facilities are maintained, and we have a lot of discussions about future facilities. So I think it's been a good working relationship, and our contractors have been doing a pretty good job for us out there. And we're pretty as lean as we can get. So I mean, we've worked with Dawson to try to slim this thing down as much as possible and cut manpower as much as possible. So I think we're at the very edge right now of what we can keep doing, especially with the COVID. With the COVID procedures we implemented in the last year, it actually increased a lot of manpower hours for Dawson, but we were able to do it within the scope of the current contracts.
The chair.
Yes.
I know.
We also cut back one person from the previous contract going into this new one. So
I know Mike is very, very prudent in all the years that I've served on this commission. So I have confidence that when you're taking it to the edge, that you're really squeezing them. So I'd like to make a motion to authorize Executive Director Naho'opi'i to extend base camp contract with Dawson Incorporated for fiscal year 23.
Thank you. Is there
Do
a
you want
second?
to include that correction he had?
As amended?
As amended.
Just a clarification that correction doesn't impact the actual motion. It's more of an internal discussion so you can see where the details are, but the total contract amount as stated is correct.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Pang. Vote by roll call.
Vice Chair Lindsay, Vice Chair Lindsay,
Yes.
Commissioner Case,
Aye.
Commissioner Mataafa,
Aye.
Commissioner Pang,
Aye.
Commissioner Paskaya,
Aye.
Chair Ka'akua.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving to action item C, 4C.
4C, authorize the executive director to extend the communications contract with Harmer Radio and Electronics for the period of May 1st, 2022 through April 30th, 2023, in the amount of $75,012.07. In your breakdown, those numbers are correct. The major delta is under telephone and data circuits. It increased by $3,300. What we're doing here is we are adding all the internet services to Harmer's contract. Because of our remote location, even this is our office building and the Kihei boathouse. The office is located in such a place in Kaho'olawe that we can't get high-speed data lines through our normal procurement process. So Harmer is going to provide us with the internet connection to our office, and also they're going to be providing the internet connection to our boathouse. So actually, in overall, we will then cut the contracts that we currently have, and we're actually saving money. We're saving money and getting high speed. So it's a win to us, and we're consolidating the different contracts to one. The other one is the other large increase was the site rent. We actually rent property on Lanai to house the microwave relay. So there's a microwave tower that's on Lanai that we pay a portion of the rent fee so that it can beam over internet access and phones and radio and everything to island to us. And then our solar panel maintenance has been, we had to increase that. We've had a lot more work we had to do over the last year, and we're finding that we're going to have to keep doing more maintenance on the solar panel system that is tied into the radio communication network. These solar panels are separate from the main solar grid because when we leave island, we turn off our electrical power to the camp, but our radio communication system, we have a standalone power system just for them so that we can have our camera system that works on the island. We can still monitor the base camp by remote cameras when the main power grid of the island is turned off. And also it allows us to use radio communications when the base camp is not operating. So if, let's say, the boat is coming in and we haven't turned the camp on yet, we can still relay off of our radio towers in base camp. So that's why we have a standalone electrical grid just for the communication systems. And just as a previous one, the contingency services, it increased by $1,000, but if we don't use it, we don't pay for it. So this is just our estimate for repair parts for the battery, for the radios and new batteries, and any other contingency services we might need. That's
Thanks,
it.
Mike.
Yeah.
Samalu?
Sorry, this might be a silly question, but what is the, I'm reading your notes, what does the COL stand for?
Oh, cost of living adjustment.
Sorry.
Yeah. Inflation, yeah. I think they had it was a less than 8% increase in cost of living that Harmer implemented across the board on all their contracts.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, thank you.
I move that we authorize Executive Director Naho'opi'i to extend communication services contract with Harmer Radio and Electronics Incorporated for fiscal year 23.
Is there a second? Any second to the motion?
Well, I'll second, Pang.
Thank you, Bang. Terry, can we do vote by roll call?
Vice Chair Lindsay,
Yes?
Commissioner Case, Commissioner Mataafa,
Yes.
Commissioner Pang,
Yes.
Commissioner Piscaya,
Aye.
Chair Kalakua.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving to action item 4D, reviewing and approve Alaloa dates, calendar year 2022 for Kaho'olawe Ohana.
Okay, thank you. So I had a meeting with the PKO access coordinators, and they were able to give me the Alaloa work crew dates for 2022. In your table, there are the highlighted ones. There are 5 additional dates we've added to our approval list. They're July 7 to 10, August 18 to 21, September 22 to 25, October 13 to 16, and November 10 to 13. The question of motion is pursuant to admin rules 13-261-13 and section 8 of the Palapala Ailike Kauaina, approve the proposed additional access dates for work on the Alaloa project for the 22 calendar year as requested by the Protect Kaho'olawe Ohana as KIRC approved and authorized activities.
Any comment or questions?
So moved, Commissioner Pang.
Thank you.
Second,
Thank you. Terry, if we can do vote by roll call.
Vice Chair Lindsay,
yes.
Commissioner Case,
Aye.
Commissioner Mataafa,
Yes.
Commissioner Pang,
Yes.
Commissioner Piscaya,
Aye.
and Chair Kalakua.
Aye. Motion carries. And thank you. I think Alaloa Access, it does, is something I'm personally involved in, and it does give the Ohana and our community members more access to new areas of the island. Moving to section 5, administrative business, legislative update.
Okay, thank you, Chair. In your packet, you will have the status of bills relating to Kaho'olawe. The Kaho'olawe related bills, we are tracking 2, House Bill 1577 and Senate Bill 3013. House Bill 1577 appropriates funds for the Kaho'olawe Island Reserve Commission, $500,000 in general funds for operations on the island, and funds 2 full-time equivalent permanent positions, which we will be asking for 2 support workers to help on island activities and with boat operations. Senate Bill 3013 is a companion to it, same request. In the House bill, it was referred to Water and Land and Finance. We had a hearing on February 3rd by Water and Land. The measure passed with amendments, your typical defect the date and blank the numbers, but I think we had about 25 to 30 people testifying in support of the measure. We did get, under the committee report, a recommendation from the chair of the Water and Land, Representative Tarnas, to, if finance is willing to pass this measure on, he recommends to fully fund this. He asked to fully fund this measure. So great support from Representative Tarnas on that. In the Senate bill, same thing, same motion, and the measure passed with defecting the date and also blanking out the numbers. It was a joint hearing between Water, Land, and Hawaiian Affairs. Both of those measures now moved to Finance and WAM. It has not been scheduled yet. Also on this tracking sheet, we're tracking the state budget. House Bill 1600, that hasn't come up yet. And we believe the Senate version of it is 2176, and that has not come up yet for hearings. There is one other bill that we're following. It's Senate Bill 2067 relating to burial sites. It establishes an interdivision program between State Historic Preservation, County Burial Councils, OCCL, Office of Conservation of Coastal Lands, and Office of Hawaiian Affairs that addresses the location, movement, and restoration of Hawaiian burial sites, or EV, exposed or likely to be exposed to coastal erosion. We're involved because the commission is the burial council for Kaho'olawe. We're actually kind of ahead on what this bill is trying to do. We're already monitoring all the coastal burials, and we have them marked, and we've already reinterned a number of them or moved them inland. So we do have an in-place program. The one thing I like about this bill is that it says that OHA is going to pay for everything. Thank you, Trustee Lindsay, for that. But that's it.
Dreaming.
That's a program updates for that. Okay. If you don't mind, Chair, I'd like to move on to the Executive Director report.
Yes.
Okay, so our FY22 expenditure report is attached for your review. There are no variances in our budget because we just approved the budget and we're only 2 months into the new budget. We have not generated any significant variances on the budget. On our future expenditure reports, we'll be updating the budget for what you just passed in this meeting. Our projections, we're still, our target is still 15% under. So I think we're on going in good place. 50% under for non-reimbursable trust funds. We want to spend all the general funds and spend all the reimbursable trust funds because we get those back. Long range schedule is also attached. As you see, we are planning about 1 year out. So we already have people scheduled for Christmas of next year. December of next year, and moving into January. Commission status updates. Nobody will be terming out this year, so we don't have to worry about anybody's term expiring. But there are some term expirations next year, and we'll bring that up later. Staff status update. With the U.S. Fish and Wildlife grant for the coastal wetland conservation, it does include funding for one new ocean resource specialist 2 position for 2 years. We will be, once we get the actual notice to proceed from the grantor, we will be putting in a request to recruit and hire for that position with the expectation to start in July. So that will be FY23. So you won't see any personnel changes for this fiscal year. And we will brief that person that they will have, it will be a 2-year funding. So at the end of 2 years, we will no longer have this position anymore. Update on COVID procedures. After working it out with the base camp manager and reviewing all the latest CDC guidelines about birthing accommodation, we have been able to revise our on-island COVID sanitation policy with regard to the birthing facilities. The previous guideline was sanitize after use or leave it barren for 7 days. The current guideline is only 24 hours to leave a space empty for 24 hours if there is a positive COVID test. So based upon their guidelines, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using boat huts so that we can go to our full 10 people plus or minus 1 or 2. And we're going to keep the physical separation in hut 10, which is the upper hut. That will have 5 people. And in the lower hut 11, we will have 8 people. We'll still keep the separation, but what we'll do is when we do the change out on Monday, the group that's leaving, they'll take all their stuff out, they'll mop and clean all the surfaces. We'll send the base camp guy through to wipe all the common surfaces like they do every day. And we would just have the other group stay out of the space until they come back that day. And that should be sufficient for birthing separation and for the CDC guidelines for the staffing out there on the island. We just got notification today that, well, I mean, in the last day or so, that the legislature is planning to reopen on March 7th for in-person hearings. We're waiting to hear what their procedures are going to be, which then corresponds to possibility of state offices reopening next month sometime. So we're working on that. And that also turns into having in-person hearings and commission meetings again. Our next commission meeting could be in person. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll see how that works. Some of the things I've been hearing feedback from other divisions is that the preference is either we do it all remote like we're doing now, or all in person. Having a hybrid where some people are in person and some people remote is a technical challenge, because as, let's say, one person who's remote, he drops off and we lose quorum, we actually lose the entire meeting. So it'd be better if we have it all tech like this, or we all have it all in person. And I've been speaking with my staff about planning to do an in-person one, maybe in June timeframe. We have to get more parking. We have to get parking because our parking that we had bought 2 years ago for you guys to park at the building is expired already. So, and we're looking at, adding airfare and stuff like that and coordination. So that's just something to think about. Government relations. I did have some meetings with legislators. Oh yeah,
Hold on, Mike.
Yeah.
Suzanne, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, just one little tweak on that is that once the EP expires and is no longer renewed for COVID, then the new sunshine law goes into effect, and you can have remote meetings, but you have to have one location be in person. So you're automatically into this hybrid scenario, which is complex.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. We're hoping the land board will do a few first, and we can follow their example.
The water commission did one, and it was hard. It was hard to do. We might still try, but it's hard.
Yeah. So I think that you just
logistically to have testimony live in a room plus testimony remotely and have a picture on everybody's face and be able to hear everyone. So not impossible, but it's hard.
So maybe we'll have our first in-person one coming up soon. It's been a while, especially for all the new commissioners who have not met in person. Okay, government relations.
You're on mute, Vice Chair.
Yeah, we had a hybrid today where all of our testifiers were virtual, but all the commissioners were in person. And it worked really well. We have a new trustee today. We replaced the Hawaii Island trustee, and our new trustee is Mililani Trask.
Oh, wow.
So, and it was a hybrid meeting,
Yeah.
but all the public stay on virtual and all the commissioners stay together. I think that's more workable. Just sharing.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to government relations. I met with Representative Yamane before the holiday break to request that he introduce a KIRC funding bill, which is the House Bill 1577. He did introduce that, which included the $500,000 in general funds and 2 additional support workers. I then also briefed Representative David Tarnas, who's the chair of Water and Land, and we had a Zoom meeting and we talked about the bill that was being introduced, and he co-signed on to that bill with Rep. Yamane, and he supported all the things that we're doing on Kaho'olawe. And then had a meeting with Senator Gabbard. He had sent out an email saying if anybody in DLNR needed help with a bill. So I jumped on it as soon as I saw that. So thank you very much, Commissioner Case, for forwarding that email to me. And he submitted a companion. So I had Representative Yamane's office forward on his bill to Senator Gabbard's office, and Senator Gabbard submitted a companion bill for our funding. Other than that, the last thing of the legislative is that we're just waiting for the finance and WAM hearings. So we'll see how those go. And we've been very successful of getting testimony. On our hearing agendas, most bills may get maybe 3 testimonies, usually 1 from the state that's against it, and tax office usually saying something, and then maybe the agency. But we've been over almost 25 to 30 testifiers in support. So a lot of the legislators are very shocked when they see all the support that we get from our bills. So, and hopefully when we go back in person, we'll have a lot more people there too. Okay, that's it for our administrative review, and then the expenditures are attached for your review. I'd like to move on to the project updates.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
moving
just
on.
before, okay,
No, yeah, let's move to project updates.
okay. One thing we're trying out, and you'll see it in your packet, we have, so, what we're trying to do is we've changed the format of the way we do the project updates. I had them take every project that we have that are currently running, and I wanted them to create a new template. So there'll be a new, we're working through the process, but the whole idea is that we'll have one page. It will be that project. The top half of the project is the summary of the project. So you'll have a quick background. What's the project all about? Then we'll list the deliverables, what needs to be delivered, the amount of awarded, who's the funder, what are the key highlights of this project, and then the update starts with a financial update, and we'll be updating you on how much we spent for that grant, how much we've billed for their grant, and how much we've received in the billings. And then after that, if there's any activity during the period that we're reporting, you'll have that update. So that way you can quickly look at the one page, you'll see what we did, but you'll also see the information that will be reoccurring every time we do an update. You'll always have that top half of the page to refer to, which will have the deliverables, the amount, who's the funder, what is the little background of it. So hopefully that this will help you. Every time we give you an update, they'll give you the background information and give you kind of a better understanding of what they're doing and what's happening in the update. So we try to make that a lot easier for you guys. So I'm going to turn this over to our first one is going to be the Virtual Museum Stage 3. That's Terry, I believe, for that update.
Aloha, Commissioners. I'm here to update you on the KIRC Virtual Museum Stage 3 Collaborations and Special Collections grant project. The main highlights for this particular project is that we will have, by the end of the grant project period, a searchable database and a new webpage, another version of the KIRC Living Library, as well as some properly rehoused artifacts. And we will also be providing extensive outreach materials to inform the public about the KIRC Living Library and the holdings of the KIRC archive. As the update states, the award amount is $75,000 from the Institute of Museum and Library Services. Currently, what we're working on is we do have the database up and running on the website. Is under construction right now. It is accessible. However, we're trying to fine tune it, and staff is currently working with Past Perfect, that is our vendor for both the database and for the website, to try to make it more user friendly. And by the time we finish that, once that is completed, we will be able to send out an announcement to the commission, to our other consultants for the project, to try to beta test it for us so that we can fine tune it a little bit even more, so that the public, when it's released to the public, it's going to be a lot more user friendly. So unless there's any other questions.
Oh, the one update on here that the financial update. This is a project where we have to complete the update, and then we'll bill for everything and do a drawdown of the money.
Correct.
That's why it's billed at 0 and received at 0. Okay, moving. yeah. Okay, moving on. Our next grant is providing community access to Kaho'olawe through virtual resources. Maggie.
Aloha Commissioners. So the other IMLS grant we have currently running right now is IMLS 4, providing community access to Kaho'olawe through virtual resources. The main focus of the project is to increase meaningful access through the development of a template or pilot VR expedition that looks at different significant sites that a volunteer or somebody going on access would get to see and work in. So we've already started documentation. I've been working with the guys from PATH to, in July, we collected a bunch of drone footage of base camp, Honokanai'a, Kealea Kahiki, Molaiki, LZ1, and just kind of the areas up there, Pokaneloa, Kelialalo, Kianakiki. So we got a lot of footage taken in. I'm still processing that. So that's why we haven't actually created any of our stuff yet, because the files, there's like thousands of images that we're just archiving and tagging and making sure we organize all that stuff before we go putting it together. The deliverables also include just sharing some live stream videos from Island, from Accesses. So in the next couple of, throughout the next year, I have 3 or 4 scheduled for myself, where I'll be using our new iPhone 13 to actually live stream using the technology to do that during Access. So that'll be nice. Ultimately, we hope to document at least 50 sites or features throughout for this project. And then also get a narrative for those sites to go along with that video and photography documentation. And then hopefully it'll all go up on a new webpage on the KIRC website that's focused on outreach and information, public information consumption. That'll have those things posted. We'll also be monitoring website traffic related to that addition to see if it's promoting meaningful access, and pay attention to the different requests we get from the public based on sharing of those resources, and then evaluating user engagement and experience with those resources, both maybe with people who have been to Island before. So how does it compare, and people who haven't? How do you feel? Have you learned a lot about it through this experience? The award amount was $98,230. The majority of that is to cover the contractual costs for communications, to be able to live stream and download and send all that footage that we'll be taking while we're out there. We are at a 000 for spent bill receive, similar to the other IMLS. I didn't set this one up so it's all one time at the end, so we will be able to periodically ask for reimbursement. However, I'm not quite sure exactly when we'll start kicking in to bill for the comms contract for this grant. So I've been working with admin to kind of, whenever they're ready, we can pull that trigger, because it's set there to do that. Yeah, next steps are, like I said, through those next few accesses, continuing to document. I think from what we've done, we have maybe 20 kind of sites or artifact features done, so we have about 30 more. So setting up that plan and making sure we get them all captured by the end of by the grant. Any questions? Yes, Samalu.
Yeah, sorry, Commissioner Masafa. So when do you expect to get all those updates in and to go live with it? Is there a target date you guys are shooting for?
Yeah, so based on our grant, our first round, now that we kind of, once we finish processing that footage, we're shooting for is like July, because that's the second time PAF and I will be getting together, and they're actually thankfully putting together the first VR little vignettes for me. So once they're done kind of packaging those with all that footage, then we'll be ready to go up. So I actually just talked to Derek last week, so we're hoping July we'll be ready to kind of put the whole thing together as a pilot for the website.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay, moving on. Oh.
I had one thing. Is there any policy about too much sharing because of the potential vandalism of sites or of some of the native plants?
I don't think we have policy. One of it is we control access to the island, and most of the native plants are in such remote areas that one, they would have to come ashore, and then they would have to find their way like 9 miles inland by foot to find any endangered plants. And we don't. Most of the endangered species we have on the island are not that particularly rare. Other than Palopalo Kanaloa, which we don't. I think most of those plants are outside in nurseries now.
Yeah.
So yeah, the only other one would be, and the only place that I think, well, traditionally had vandalism was the Kamohio burial site, but that's also in a very remote location too. Yeah.
Okay.
But to
Most of-
speak to your
Yeah.
to speak to your concern, Commissioner, the other kind of resources we maybe were concerned about that are like ARC sites or historical sites that are close to the coast. Actually, Restoration Manager brought that concern up at one point in time with this project. So with that, we are aware of it and trying to mediate the concern just by the way we present it. So not necessarily presenting the point of access maybe to those areas or in the same post, like detailing how you get there while you're on island, kind of in that sense, right? Because actually when we were in Kanapo for our last cleanup, we noticed people had been there recently that were probably not supposed to be there. So that's not just happening in other areas too, in terms of worrying about access. So.
Chair,
Anything else?
Chair, I just want to let you know that I need to leave by 2:40 for another meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to restoration, Hakuava operation and maintenance plan. Paul? And we'll keep the update short.
Hello, Commissioners. The Hakuava operation and maintenance plan, again, a little background, 18-month operation management plan for the Hakuava water, part of the Hakuava watershed. The deliverable is 5,000 native plants will be put into the ground. Install 20 check dams, read 8 soil erosion pins, and a baseline of 28 photo points have been taken and will be retaken at the end of the project. About $122,000 has been funded for this. The funder is State of Hawaii, Clean Water Branch, the US EPA. The highlights of this project is that we have hired a KIRC specialist 2 for 1 year. So today we put in about 2,000 native plants in this area, and the 11 check dams have been installed. Right now, December and January access were canceled to planting, so we're a little bit behind schedule right now, but we anticipate the catching up by the April 2022 trip. Any questions for the Hakuava operations and maintenance plan?
Okay, coastal and upland wetland restoration. Paul?
Coastal wetland restoration. This is a little background. We have 2 wetland areas, one at Keanakiki and one at along the coast near Kealikeiki, and one at Kaho'olawe at about 800 feet elevation up on the island. Deliverables for this: remove alien plant species from this plant area, and put in about 10,000 native plants between these 2 different sites. To date, we have not done any work on the alien plant stuff. We'll be ordering the plants later on this year for planting to start probably in October of this year. Any questions? Okay. Now we have the soil enrichment trials at the degraded coastal and wetland areas. This project deliverable is to put out a total of about 60 plots using biochar to try to enrich the soil within these areas. So far, we put out all of the biochar plots and we'll come up in the March axis, adding in additional plots within this area. $10,000 for this grant. and it's funded by Ducks Unlimited at this time. Now for the Kaho'olawe Partnership Project, right now we have 20 plants in cultivation. The plants are at the Belinda Rare Plant Facility on Maui and at Kaho'olawe Farms on Maui also. We are working on, we have quarterly meetings, and we are working on a coming up with a strategic plan for what to do in case of hurricanes, how to protect these plants or other natural disasters. And we're in the process of trying to build 22 planter boxes to house these plants. We're still in discussion on where these other plants will be going to, various botanical gardens or perhaps a few private nurseries that may be taking care of these plants for us. So right now, from 2 in the wild to now we have 22 plants in cultivation. There are none existent in the wild that we know of at this time. Questions?
You're looking for funding for this?
We are looking
Always.
for funding. Always. That's Mike's line. Yeah, always looking for funding to build the to build the boxes. Very costly, and also finding for soil amendments and other stuff like that. So we have some good leads on that, and we're following up on some private donors at this time to help us fund some of the boxes. Okay, thank you.
Then quick question: any specimens on island?
Not that we know of. The population on Ale was last visited some time ago. We have not been there lately. Again, access to the Ale is very hazardous. I think most of the chopper pilots won't do that type of run anymore. And our only approach now is from the ocean, swimming ashore, then scaling a barren cliff. So not that we know of it. There are no plants on island at this time.
Thanks, Paul.
Another thing you might want to try is
Yes?
drones. Maybe NTBG can rent you a drone to get close to Ale.
Yeah, we have discussed that. We have not done that yet to date. Not only Ale, but also other areas throughout the island, the other sea cliffs. One thing that sort of limits us is the ocean conditions to get around to that side of the island, although we could approach it from the land area and fly a drone from there.
Yeah.
So something that we will put in the books and try to see if we can do more drone surveillance for.
Yeah, because NTBG is using it for rare plant surveys on cliff faces. So
I saw the thing on Kauai, what they did, quite a bit of it on Kauai and elsewhere.
just a thought.
Yeah, one of the scary part of it for us is that just getting to the cliff face on the south side, there's no trail. So it's pretty much bushwhacking across uncleared, some of it's uncleared areas. So we would have to establish clearance corridors to get to some of these areas. And if we lose control of the drone, it just, we wouldn't be able to recover. Yeah. I mean, we would lose it in the ocean. So there goes our entire investment into like the drone. So yeah, it gets kind of nerve wracking about when we send a drone over a remote cliff and we can't recover it.
Can't see it. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yes, Commissioner.
Well, how's it going? I just had a quick question. Do any of the projects that you manage that have grants attached to them, do they have any period? Do they have a period of time that you have to complete them in?
Yeah, all of these have all time limits. The Department of Health one ends end of September of this year. The Kaho'olawe one is ongoing. There's no time limit for that. And I believe the other ones end. What? Biochar ends in August. We are planning to complete all the deadline obligations and get everything done by then and all the money spent.
Commissioner Motoff, what we'll do is we will add on, because this format is, we're still experimenting the format. we'll add on peer-to performance into the data set on the top half so that you'll be able to see that in this template for our next reports.
Good to hear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Ocean program. Dean is he in the office?
Yep.
Okay, Maui Science Education and Training.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Yeah, brief update on our pyro grant. Basically, we've completed and we've met all obligations beside one. These are the points I want to talk about real quick. That one obligation we were unable to meet was creating video and film of students. The Maui High School students we were working with, not all participants signed off on the image release form of their likeness, image, or use of image and video. So we couldn't utilize that. We worked around that, and instead we used text from their experiences, their journals, and their surveys at the end of the program to use in our newsletters and elsewhere in reporting. Basically, the grant was a mini grant of $15,000. It expired in October of last year, and actually I'm working on submitting the final report tomorrow. The money spent was $15,000. We billed $15,000. We have not yet received that amount back, being because we're working not directly with the funding agency, which is NOAA, but through the state fiscal office. And so it's being routed through that way. But we are working on getting that funding very shortly. Yeah, that's a very quick synopsis.
Yeah, one addition I want to put on is that we're going to keep tracking and reporting these grants until that fiscal update is the amount spent, amount billed, amount received, all equal each other. Then we will close out the project and then we'll stop reporting on that project. But we'll keep reporting on it until we receive all the funding, just so that it stays up in your guys' informational updates.
That's it for this report, commissioners.
Next one.
Courtney, yeah.
Who's got marine debris? Or we're going to do the CWC.
We're going to do the Cook one first.
Okay.
Good afternoon, commissioners. I'll be going over the Cook Grant, which was engaging Hawaiian communities through Kaho'olawe cultural history and coastal restoration. This grant was from December of 2020 to December of 2021. So it is now completed. We reached all of our deliverables and we were able to plant 8,000 plants. We created an Emery tool in order to do the Emery method for measuring the beach width. And we were able to build a shoreline profile graph with the hopes of keeping up this method and comparing seasonal variations of the beach widths. We also reached 53 volunteers directly and an average of 1,407 remotely per social media posts. So at this time, this will be the last post on this because this grant is complete.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Next, marine debris removal, Kanapō.
Real quick,
yeah.
It said spent 22, billed 22, received 18,000. I was just wondering, where are we supposed to?
I think we're still waiting for the last check to come back in. Oh. So we'll keep it like in this until that whole thing zeroes out. Yeah. Okay. It might be in the box on a deal now, so we'll check. Oh, you're on mute, Dean.
Sorry about that. A brief update on our marine debris removal project in Kanapō. We've accomplished one axis of our Schedule 3, and we're pre-scheduled and planned for the next two to come up in August and October. We've already staged approximately 3 to 4 tons, and the obligation is for 5. So the next two accesses will be focusing upon just aggregating more, collecting more, and then the removal process via helicopter. We'll also be using some for some erosion control at Mauka, so we're working closely with the restoration program on that as far as placement and ideal locations. This grant is to expire in December of this year, and it's for an amount of $76,000. Vast majority of which will be used for helicopters. To date, we've spent 13,000, a little 13 and a half, a little over 13,500. We have not billed yet for any of it, and so thus we have not received any. I'll be glad to answer any questions if there are any.
Hey, Terry, just a quick note, please put on the on our minutes that Commissioner Lindsay had to depart. We still have 5 commissioners present, and we still have quorum.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dean. Thanks, Courtney.
Yes. Okay, the last one is our CWC coastal restoring coastal wetlands. We haven't really started it, but if we can get a quick brief from it.
Okay, so this is a grant by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. The goal is to enhance about 3 acres of the wetland in Honakanaya. The goal is to remove invasive alien plants, reintroduce native plants, and also to reduce siltation. Some of the main objectives for this grant is, like Mike said earlier, to hire a second ocean resource specialist too, for a 2-year period, plant 20,000 plants, excavate the current silt pond to make it work more efficiently, perform a wetland pilot study with the UH geography researchers and their students, as well as to purchase and deploy a long-term water quality device called a SON, as well as a weather station. This grant officially, we got awarded beginning of January, and we're still working to make sure that we finish all the federal and state compliance process, and we are getting started on purchasing equipment and starting the grant and starting the field work. Any questions?
Commissioner Pang, right now we're doing our 106 compliance and trying to hear back. We already submitted our package to SHPD, and we're waiting to hear back from them on the approval. And then once the 106 compliance portion is done, we should be getting a notice to proceed, and then we can start the funding portion.
Good. All right.
Yeah. That's it. That's it for the project updates. And left in the package is just some FY copies of the testimony I submitted and post-Hawaii reports from PKO accesses that happened during the time period. There's some interesting photos of some of the work they're doing down in Kaho'olawe, their garden, and recovering the water tanks down there. So that's all we have for you for this commission meeting.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody. Any final comments or questions?
If you guys have any comments about the project layouts and things you would like to see in, this is still a work in project. Hopefully this project method of reporting it's going to help you guys out a little to keep up, well, to kind of get, there's so much time between the reports that sometimes these projects, you kind of forget what the project's about. So it helps you with knowing what we're trying to do and where we're going and what we're doing to get there. So any other comments you can send us to help improve it. I got some things to formatting and try to make it a little easier to see. We want to create it more like a dashboard that we can eventually incorporate it into one of our web pages that it will be part of a digital dashboard by projects. Yeah, so this is kind of the eventual goal of this layout that we're doing for project-based reporting.
Yep, Commissioner Matafa.
Can't hear you.
Sorry, I guess this question is for you, Chair, and regarding the in-person versus virtual format for the next meeting. And just wondering what your preference would be and the commission's preference would be for that type of meeting. Just to kind of get a temperature check what you're doing for it.
My personal preference, I guess, as chair, is I like these meetings. I think they're quick. I think they're efficient and we can involve people statewide. I did hear what Chair Case or Commissioner Case was saying about us having to have a hybrid venue for public participation. I think if that's a state obligation, I mean, we got to get better at that to make that happen for everybody, right? So I'm open. I like the interactions that we get when we're all face to face. I also think we can continue some of this the Zoom meetings, at least at the hybrid level. I think that's, I don't know, I think that's important. I think it's easier to get folks involved. But we'll work on it. We'll look at it. I was actually going to have ask Mike and his team to kind of reach out to the different to you all commissioners, and to see when we schedule our next one, what might be your preference, what might work out.
Yeah, one of the things we'll have to solve is that our public space is going to have to be down at DLNR, and then we'll have to get used to the technology down there. Because our office space on Maui is not compatible to public hearings, because we're on the second floor and we have no ADA accessibility to our conference room. So we can't hold it in our office on Maui. So it'll have to be at DLNR office. So, and then we'll have to work with the DLNR staff on how to use the technology stuff that they have inside their conference room. We've never used it before, really. Yeah.
You know, it does help to, when you have a mixed meeting, people still have their this set up so that your face is clear on the Zoom. You're not lost in a room. If the camera is on a table full of commissioners or testifiers from a distance, it's hard to get this kind of direct interaction. What else did I see? When we had a hybrid water commission meeting, I'm not even sure anybody came to testify. We presented in person, but I think testimony was still remote. I mean, people do prefer the convenience of being able to testify remotely, and certainly for inter-island participation, the remote is much easier. So it might not be that hard under the new rules to do a hybrid. You just have to have a space where people can come in person to testify. So you could have everybody remote, but one computer in a room, and people want to testify, they can do it. They have to have somebody probably monitoring, who's up next, kind of thing. But it could be simpler than what we did before.
That's all I have, Chair. We'll send out a request, and then we'll kind of watch the land board meetings and see how they go, and get more feedback from other commissions and see what they say about the changes in meeting. And maybe we'll do a walkthrough before the next meeting down at DLNR. We'll just have to get access to the Wi-Fi system down there so that we can run our own laptops at the desk over there.
Thanks, Mike, and thanks to the staff. Just a quick FYI, I think they're going to run the news KHON news story on Kaho'olawe tonight. I think a good one, hopefully a good one, about the Kihei Education Center and other needs, I think, for the island that we're trying to promote public support for.
Oh, and if you're on Oahu and you have the chance to go down to Namea's Chinatown location next to Mesum, there is a Kaho'olawe exhibit of the early landings by Franco Samoragi that's being featured down there, and I've heard it on Hawaii Public News, Hawaii Public Radio, and a couple other news blasts, but it should be up for the rest of the month, and I think they're going away maybe next month. I'm not too sure, but it's a good exhibit.
And just to follow up on the media, we also had a piece on KITV yesterday morning in their morning spot, and they want to do a 2 to 3 part series, potentially on Island with us. I was interviewed today with Hawaii News Now, so that piece would have been featured today, but they had a different breaking story. So that one will be on tomorrow evening as well. So we have a lot of media interest right now, particularly with the bills and the grants and everything that's kind of happening. So it's really good. We have some good momentum, and we're hoping to capitalize on that in the near future.
Yeah, a lot of our stories are going to get pushed because somebody invaded somewhere else.
But do you keep them on the website, those news articles, whether it be TV, radio, or print? Is there a place on the
Really
website?
good question, Commissioner Pang. And I don't think, other than in our announcements sometimes, but not everything that gets into the log definitely does not end up on the website. So I think that's a really good point, and we'll make sure that there is a space for that on the new outreach page.
Especially for outreach, and then make sure it's next to the grant donation button.
Yep. I like it. We'll have you review our stuff and give us some feedback, that kind of performance review we were talking about earlier.
Okay, thanks everybody for a great meeting. We're adjourned.
Thanks. See you later.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks.